There's a grocery store called Meat and Produce. What is it? Broadway Meat and Produce.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm drawing a blank. Drawing a blank.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see. So
Where is it in regards to the Catholic?
Okay, so we got Taco Bell and all them right here, right?
That's 28.
Right, I'm just saying, giving them a general location.
Okay.
So we going farther down.
You're going like you're going to Shawnee Park.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are we crossing the viaduct?
Yeah, right. There is a daycare and there's a church.
I know where you're at. I know where you're
right?
at.
I'm right
That is
there.
the Catholic Church.
It's close to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you. All right. So we have a projected date for 2021.
Mm-hmm.
As far as funds, are you thinking it's going to take about $1 million to get this thing open and operated in the way you would like it to run?
Yes.
Okay. So we need community support on this, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any crowdfunding programs? Are you doing anything to raise money?
Yeah, well, we're working on the layout now. I'm working with an architect firm to work on the layout of the drawing before we start the campaign, so people can actually see what the grocery store is going to look like, and that'll help give people the vision and say, okay, this is what I would want to put my money into.
Right.
So yeah, that's what we're doing right now.
I'm glad you're doing this community based, right? Because Sisters was the last grocery store open. But prior to that, there was another black-owned grocery store that did it on a major scale that was on 26 and Dumanil. And this was maybe 10 or 15 years ago. It ended up being a meat market after that, but it was called Parkland. It was called Parkland Supermarket, and it was right on the corner of, is that Dumanil or Virginia? Virginia. Okay, so it was 26 in Virginia, and they tried. And they opened up, and this was what, maybe 2000?
No, it was later than that.
Maybe
like,
2005 or somewhere there?
Yeah.
They opened this store, and people knew about it. I don't feel like there was a big community involvement in it, but I wanted them to win, right?
Right.
And it lasted maybe a year or two before they shut down, and I think a lot of the problem was that people were upset about pricing in comparison to Kroger, right? And I don't think people understand that Kroger is a huge. I think Kroger is the number 2 or 3 grocery store in the nation, right?
Yeah.
So Kroger has the buying power of, let's say, I don't know, with arbitrary numbers, say 400 or 500 stores, maybe 1,000, maybe more. So Kroger's able to get these products for pennies on the dollar, essentially.
Yeah.
So someone opening up an independent black-owned grocery store may not have the network or the buying power as these larger chains, but it's important to reclaim our community and to start a culture of ownership and eating healthy. Because Kroger's is not going to look out. Kroger's is not going to do a Megan Bell and say, well, look, we want you guys to eat healthy. Kroger will say you chitlins, hog balls.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it's a business.
But if you think about it,
like.
listen, y'all, the crazy part is that we don't understand. I live out in Simpsonville, kind of like Simpsonville.
Okay.
So I have a Whole Foods, I have a Trader Joe's, I have a Kroger's, I have a Walmart, I have a Target. We have all those things. And one thing I noticed about these big chains is they put out what people would want to, what they know they can sell in certain neighborhoods.
Right.
So if I go out to East End to Kroger's, I might not find chitlins and stuff like that there.
Right. It's not a big seller.
It's not a big seller.
Right.
But if I go down to the West or Newburgh or whatever,
You're going to find
I'm
some
going to find a
chitlins,
whole
buckets.
buckets of
Whole trough of chitlins.
Especially around Thanksgiving.
Even when it comes down to the produce.
Right.
Like how fresh it looks like all the way out in the East compared to the West.
So, I want to stop you there. Now, is that an issue? Have you found that to be true during your research? If you go in other areas, if you go in areas that are not economically challenged, does it appear that maybe the produce appears fresher than it does, or even the meat? Does it appear fresher in those areas than it does in depleted areas?
I won't say what stores I've been to see that.
Right.
But
You trying to get us some enemies early.
See, I'm trying to stay out of trouble.
Okay.
All right. But I would say that I was very distraught because they were actually selling this type of stuff. They were selling this stuff to our people.
Oh, let me tell you something they do in the hood. You go in one of these hood stores, right? It could be a chain like Kroger's. And you know how meat gets to the point where it's old and start to turn colors?
Yeah.
They'll throw some seasoning on it, right? And sell it as seasoned meat, repackage it, and then there'll be a big We've all seen it. There'll be a
Right.
label
No,
on
that's
it,
fine.
a big orange label. Sell this before 11/28.
Yeah.
You're like, yo.
And people buy it.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm catching a deal. I'm like, no.
You're catching a heart attack.
Or salmonella
Yeah.
or something. Like, that's what you're catching. Like, we just have to start really understanding how we're being treated.
So it's
And
an
we
educational
deserve
process.
Yes, and it's so important that we understand food security and food policy and all that stuff, how stuff should be properly packaged and sold and all that stuff. All that stuff needs to be around that, and that's what the Next Door Market is going to bring.
There you go. So let me dig a little further, right? I'm gonna get a little personal here, right?
Oh.
So
I don't know where this one.
getting personal. And congrats because you
Thank
got
you.
married recently.
Well, about 5 years ago.
Okay, it's been 5 years ago.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Like,
So you got married at 20.
Recently,
So
recently.
you got married at 25. Married at 25. Great.
Yeah,
I'm proud.
yeah.
Okay, but I understand that you were adopted.
Yes.
So this is what blows me away about your story. So you were adopted.
Mm-hmm.
Do you currently know your birth parents?
I do. Well, I really don't know my birth mother, but I do know my dad.
Okay, so you were adopted, and you survived through life, I assume, without knowing your parents. We'll get into the situation how you were
Yeah,
raised, but
right.
without knowing your parents, you were able to graduate high school, put yourself through college, get married, start a nonprofit organization, and now start a black-owned grocery
Yeah.
store. Have you just thought about? Have you ever
No.
thought about that in that context?
No, because
Your story's still being written.
yes, and you know how like when you do things, when you accomplish things, you like, what can I do more? You know what I mean? Like, it's more of like, okay, I'm not really satisfied yet because I haven't made it to my ground break that I really want to be at. That's kind of where I am. I really do have to start appreciating where I'm at, but it's more of, I'm just,
You ain't finished yet.
I'm not finished.
Right. Well, what makes it so amazing is that you understand that there are, I don't know, hundreds, thousands, millions of people that come from your situation, and you have every reason not to use it as an excuse, but you have every reason. The stats say you're going to fail,
Yeah.
and you've succeeded beyond probably anyone's imagination. You've exceeded beyond any expectation that anyone may have had for you.
Yeah.
So growing up as an adopted kid, if you don't mind,
No.
at what age did you realize you were adopted?
I think my mother told me, my
Adopted mother?
Yeah, she told me I was about 10 or 11.
So she did tell you? Because,
Yeah.
most parents
Parents don't.
want to
Yeah.
keep that away from you, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just not to deter you.
Right, but no, it was more of a really deep conversation that we had, and it was just, I really couldn't be mad at my biological mother for being in that situation. I'm glad that she did give me away when she did to protect me and her, but it was just more of feeling like the black sheep. You know what I mean? Like, wow, like it took 10 years for you to tell me this, and I've been thinking y'all my family the whole time. You know what I mean?
So how does that feel? Was there resentment there? Was there sadness there? Was there?
It was sadness. It was, but as I got older, I realized having my own kids, because I have 3. That's all that is important to them, is just to know mommy and daddy is here. They love me, they care for me, different things like that. And I know my biological mother cared for me too, and my father cares for me too. But we just go through certain situations that
Okay, now after discovering you were adopted at 10, did it change the relationship with your adopted parents?
It was more of like, no, not really. I mean, it was just more of, I really didn't grasp it really much because I was still a kid, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it was just more of like, oh, I got adopted parents, yeah, cool. But it took me to like really have kids of my own to understand like, wow.
Like, decisions and stuff. That
Yeah,
you
like when you go through the birth and have, carrying the child and different things like that. And I just kept reminding myself how, this is a blessing. It's not a luxury to have children. And I have been through a lot of experiences and seen a lot of things. So I try to raise my kids the way that, I never really got to have that experience with my biological mother.
Right.
So yeah.
This is a great conversation because I don't think people often look at things from the other side, right? Mm-hmm. And when you look at, I'm glad you said that. I know my biological mother and father loved me, because at times that may be an act of love. If a parent realizes, like, hey, look, right now my life is screwed up, I can't offer my child anything, because I can't even offer myself anything at this time, whatever I'm going through. So it may be a better situation for me, as much as it may hurt, to give my child up and give her better opportunities, better lifestyle, better everything.
And I learned that in just like in our communities, that we really are in a survival mode.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
There's so many things thrown at us. And I can't be like, well, you should have been there. Why weren't you there? Because,
like you said, it was just decades from us, the struggle that we really went through, being segregated from our families and being taken away from our fathers and being different things like that. Our fathers being taken away from our homes and different things like that. So it's been like...
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really touch on how much that the government do not want the male involved,
Well, just period, right? As black people, right? And I had this conversation with people often, that sometimes I get offended when people compare or contrast the black struggle to anyone else's struggle, whether it be people victims of the Holocaust or other situations, right? But you have black people, and you look at historically, black people in America are the only group walking this planet, not just America, walking this planet, that we were uprooted from our mother country. We were uprooted. In the process of being uprooted, we lost our culture, our ties to our ancestors, if you want to say our religion, we lost everything. We lost touch with everything. No other group has suffered that. So after that, we went through 400 years of slavery. Once slavery was abolished, we were, at American Reconstruction, we were deemed to be given compensation for our work as slaves. So that was property, that was your 40 acres and a mule, that was compensation for being slaves. Before we were able to get that compensation, we got the Ku Klux Klan and black codes. Mm-hmm. So we never got that. And then after black codes, we got segregation in the South, and we got Jim Crow laws. So there's constantly been, and after that we got redlining, we had segregated communities, we had, it was just, I was born in
different things.
I was born in the 70s, and in 63 or 64, they had, in Arkansas, they had to take black kids to college or high school with a shotgun because white students weren't allowed to come in. Mm-hmm. So you have a group of people that have faced adversity since we've touched this country. Yeah. And everything that you see, and then you go through the 80s of the crack epidemic. So you have 20, 30 years of drugs being mass promoted and mass marketed in our community. I can get some drugs during that time before I can get a job, right? So you have drugs being marketed to our community at a massive rate. So you have a high concentration of drug users, a high concentration of drug sellers. So it's like a 2-for-1 deal. So you had people getting murdered for drugs, people overdosing, dying for drugs. You had the government coming over, mass incarcerating black men and women for drugs, and then you had the rest just lost out here. Right. So now we're 20 years past that, and we have a community that's just torn and broken up, right? So then we have a light like you at 30 years old coming from further adversity that's going back, trying to repair some of this damage.
Yeah, which I can't do it by myself, you know, because I had a lot of women just here that has motivated me to follow my own dreams and different things like that. And I watch Miss Tiandra on social media.
Don't watch her. Don't pick up any bad habits from her. We just messing with her. That's all good. That's all good.
That was a joke, y'all. But it's great to see that you know what I'm saying.
You didn't let her finish what she was saying.
That time you topping, you right.
Whatever.
My bad. Go ahead, do your thing.
No.
But go ahead.
No, it's just like I said. It's just like seeing different women in our city that's doing amazing things that has made me want to step up and say, because you know, like Miss Tiandra and other women, like y'all telling me that I can do it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all telling me that I can get up and start my own business if I have the right credentials and skills, if I take my time, if I have a business plan, if I invest in different things like that in areas that I need to invest in to be successful, you know, that's I can do the same thing.
So you're a fan of building generational wealth.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
So how